Hi, hello, it's Lillian. Welcome back to the Knits by Lillian podcast. It's been a minute, okay, since we filmed one of these, and I have so many updates for you. I've cast on and cast off complete sweaters since the last time I updated you all, so buckle up. We've got whips, we've got finished objects, we've got pattern releases, plural, we've got test knits. What more could you want? It's snowing for the first time of the season here in Michigan today, and I've made my first hot coffee of the year, so you know the drill. Grab a bev, grab your knitting, buckle up, let's crack into it. Okay, so first and most importantly, the Beachside Cardigan test knit just ended and our pattern is ready to be released. So I've got both of my samples here to show you. This pattern is a bottom-up cardigan. I know bottom up's not everybody's favorite, but it worked really well for this construction. So we've got a mock cable version. So this is all really basic lace knitting. It's just yarn overs, knit two togethers to create this faux cable look. It's so hard to show cardigans on camera, you know, but you're getting the gist of her. So it's a really, really beautiful stitch pattern in my opinion. So she is worked bottom up, starting with some ribbing at the hem, options for different body lengths. I made mine like medium cropped. You could definitely crop it more or make it quite a bit longer. I had testers do both. So there is this mock cable version, and then we also have a stockinette version. So my goal was to create a pattern that people could knit more than once. Here's our stockinette guy. Same construction, bottom up. This one's a little bit more cropped, a little bit more fitted. We've got a drop shoulder, but there's some armhole shaping. The way I threw that over my neck like it's a scarf. Some armhole shaping, especially in sizes with a bigger bust size to make the shoulder size, or chest circumference, I should say, to make the shoulders fit well. You know what I'm saying. We've got a 3-needle bind off at the top of the shoulder for two reasons. I thought it looked cool. I thought it added a little pop, a little detail. And I found that when you're knitting cardigans that are drop shoulder, the ones that I've done top down, the top of the shoulder kind of stretches out a little bit, and then my sleeve sags more than I'd like it to. So we've got a solution. And then with the mock cable, I gave folks the option to still do the 3-needle bind off, or to do a Kitchener stitch to kind of make the lace look a little bit cleaner. I did a 3-needle bind off on this seam just to see what it would look like with the lace, and it looked kind of cool. I liked the ridge. So this is Blue Sky Fibers cotton, which I had never used before this, and I really, really liked it. It's a pretty heavy cotton, so it's a good, I would say this is a good like transitional piece, because the yarn is a little bit heavy, it's a little bit dense, but it's still pretty breathable. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. V-neck cardigan. I'm like picking fuzz off of it. I've been trying not to like wear my samples to death because I needed to get good pictures of them, but I kind of had them on the floor, so oops. Got some little buttons on there. Somebody pointed out on my Instagram picture that one of the buttons is sewn on the wrong way, and I was like, yeah, y'all would notice that and I wouldn't, so thanks. I'm gonna leave it. This pattern is out. You can get this, both of these. It's kind of a twofer again, and I'm so excited about it. I'm really happy with how this turned out. The front and back with the decrease section of the mock cable version is charted. You can do it, the chart's the best way to go. There's charts for every size, so there's an individual chart for each size. So you don't have to play the where do I start in the chart game. You don't have to play how many repeats in are we. Everything's charted for your size. And then for the shoulder or the armhole and neckline decreases on the stockinette version, the decreases still correspond. So you can just work the mock cable charts and then just continue in stockinette, or everything's written out, kind of dealer's choice on that one. But I love that crisp V-neck look with the stockinette. I think think it looks so good. And we picked up a button band here. That looks great. So go grab a copy, start knitting. I had envisioned the mock cable version for more of like a spring, summer, early fall, but I think it still could look really pretty in winter. I think that because there's lace, like there's little gaps from where the yarn overs are, but I feel like they're not big, like they're not saggy, you know? So I think this would look really pretty with like a v-neck underneath and like a skirt and tights, or like a big wide leg trouser and a boot for like holiday Christmas party, office party. I don't work in an office, but if you do, you can wear this. I'll stop rambling. I'm really excited about this pattern, and I hope you are too. Okay, so as if one pattern release weren't enough, I haven't released a pattern in 2024, and here I am doing them all at once. So the Arconia pattern that we've all been waiting for 10 months is ready. Here are my 2 samples. I'm obsessed. Okay, so this is my original sample. If you follow me on Instagram, or if you've been watching these videos for a while, you will have seen this guy. We've got raglan, top down, all over color work with some contrasting details. So I've got a faux seam that continues down the side and also down the bottom of the sleeve, ribbing. This sample is my second one. So we made some pretty significant changes in the test knit. So the issue that we were having was there were too many short rows basically. So the back of the neck had a little bit too much fabric. And I figured out since then that I think the reason that happened is because I'm a pretty loose knitter, and this is 2 worsted weight yarns held together. So if you knit at a normal gauge, it's a pretty thick fabric. That was the goal. I wanted something really like thick and dense and warm, and we definitely got that, but it came at the cost of the fabric not having much flexibility or ability to drape. So, okay, we ended up taking out some short rows. A bunch of my testers actually like completely started the pattern over, which I am just so grateful for people who are so willing to work like that. Sorry, somebody's driving by in a crane on my road. Okay, so we've had a little interlude. There's a light pole right outside my windows, and these dudes were in one of those like genie things that like raises you up to like cut trees, and they were going around and they're wrapping all the poles in tinsel for the holiday season, which cute, but it's literally like 2 feet away from my window. So I was like, I can't sit here and like hold up sweaters and yap about yarn while somebody is like eye level with me. So we took a break. My cat was standing on the desk, and I could hear the guy from outside go, OMG, I can see a cat. So yeah, it's been an hour. We're back. I finished my coffee, so I've got my list. We're back on, we're locked in. We were talking about the Arconia sweater test knit. Okay, so a lot of my testers started over. I had a really good group of testers. I'm so grateful for all the people that said that they were willing to do that, because it was really frustrating for me. Not at all frustrated with them, but frustrated with myself, because I feel like it's a design element that I should have caught earlier. But I think it's one of those things where the numbers work out on paper and it just didn't work out with the fit. And a lot of people messaged me and were like, it's okay, this is why we test. Obviously, like I pretty much doubled the test line, or the test deadline. So we ended this in like June or July. So I was looking at this pattern for like almost 6 months between like tech edits and all this. And so when I redid the short row, basically what I did was like just took some out and changed like the starting number so everything could pretty much stay the same. Okay, when I sent the pattern back after I got it re-tech edited, I went through and I knit the short rows of all the sizes, and the pattern has, it's either 9 or 10 sizes. So I didn't knit the whole yoke, but I knit through the short rows and into the raglan of 9 or 10 samples of this sweater. So I was sick of the houndstooth stitch pattern for a while. I needed a break. I just wanted to make sure that since it was such a big change, that I was like sure about the numbers. And everything works out on paper sometimes. It just doesn't work out in yarn. So, okay, so anyway, I did a lot of this stitch pattern. I was sick of it, so it took me a few months to want to go back to it. And because we'd made so many changes and so many big edits, I kind of wanted a little bit of time from where I wasn't looking at the pattern to where I could kind of go through and test it myself. So all this to say, I got sick, okay, and I didn't work for a few days, and so I knit this sample in 5 days. I would not recommend doing that. My hands were tired, but I love how it turns out. So this is Blue Sky Fibers, is the charcoal. It's their worsted, I think it's Woolstock worsted. It's the charcoal, and then the, I don't know, like tan beige is Juniper Moon Farms merino. And I really, this is giving like dark academia to me. I really love it. And it lays really well. The collar is perfect, like no bubbling up. The original sample was Woolstock worsted was the white, and then the green was Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. It might be a colorway that they don't carry anymore, but I'll have to look into that. But so yeah, all of this to say, this has been a journey. And on the flip side, I do a lot of test knitting. I actually have 2 of my whips are test knits where like I test it for other people. And I have been on the flip side of that a lot of times, honestly, where we've had to make like big changes to a sweater, and I'm like, I get it. That's why we test knit. We're looking for these mistakes. I'm kind of proud of myself if I can ever catch a mistake. Not that I like want to, but like I feel like I'm doing a good job as a test knitter that I'm like, ooh, this didn't line up, or like I think it did. And a lot of times I second guess myself, especially if I'm off like just by a stitch or two, because if I'm knitting a different pattern and I'm off by a stitch or two, I'm like, we'll just kind of, it's fine, we'll fudge it. Anyway, so I've been on the flip side of that a few times where I've messaged designers who've been in the same boat that I just was, where they're like, oh, I'm frustrated with how this went, like, and I'm like, it's fine. It's what we're here for. So it's been good. My lips are feeling dry. And now we're ready to release. And it's been a long, arduous road, but I'm really happy with how this turned out. I have a pair of black overalls that I took some photos with this underneath, like the overall strap. I think it looks so cool. And this is, I did size 3 for both samples. Is that true? The only things I did differently were I did an Italian bind off for all of my ribbing on the second sample, and on the first I did, I think, a surprisingly stretchy bind off, so you could see a little bit more of the cast off edge. That's really the only thing I did differently. But I'm really excited about this, and sometimes, you know, it's worth the wait, because now I have a sweater and a pattern that I'm really proud of and really happy to release. So that's our second pattern release. I also, when we were extending the test knit, it was originally going to end in like April maybe, I can't remember, but kind of going into the summer season, and I was like, this is not like, this doesn't feel like a summer sweater, you know. It's color work with 2 worsted yarns. Like, this is gonna be heavy. So this is the perfect winter knit, you know, like this is gonna be on repeat. I'm really excited, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. And after all that time went by and I was knitting this again, I was like, you know what, this is actually a really fun stitch pattern. I really like this. I enjoy it. It's rhythmic. I will say the beginning is a little bit tricky just because you're starting color work charts and you're doing short rows. So the first, like, I think there's only 7 short rows now, I think, but there's like 7 rows that you have to work flat, but then that's it. And then it's just regular raglan shaping. And the nice part, here's the fail safe, okay? Because I thought this would be something that I messed up if I was knitting this pattern, not as someone who designed it, but I put these like faux seams in between the colorwork sections because, and I tested this on all the yokes that I knitted, it doesn't really matter if you line up where the stitch pattern is like starting across these, if that makes sense. So if you end on stitch 2 here, it doesn't matter if you start on stitch 3 on the next panel as long as you're on the same row in the chart, so that these little like parts that are jutting out of the little houndstooth, the like little horizontal lines, as long as those line up so that you're still on like the black is a row here and then the tan is a row here, as long as that lines up, the stitch pattern is very forgiving. And I put a couple notes about that in pattern too, because a couple of my testers were like, oh, it's not lining up. And especially because you're doing increases through this section, so like the stitch that you start on changes, but once you figure out, what is my cat doing? Once you figure out like the stitch pattern, it's so rhythmic. And then obviously like once you get through that short row shaping, raglan, and then the body is great. So don't be deterred if it's difficult to start the pattern right away, or the stitch pattern. I wish that there was a better way to like ease into it. I thought about doing it bottom up because I was like, oh, you could establish, you know, the stitch pattern and then kind of work your way into working the more like difficult sections, and you could start the pattern around. But then just grafting sleeves in and all that, it just didn't have the look I wanted. And I wanted these raglan faux seams. Okay, so that's enough about that. I'm really, really excited with how this turned out. Go grab a copy of the pattern, because she's been a labor of love, okay? And I want you all to be able to see and love her. And now I can wear my green sample after all this time, because I still didn't have pictures, but I do now. Okay, I'm starting to think that I won't make it through everything in this one video, because we're, what, 15 minutes in, and we've got only through the patterns that we're releasing. We haven't even made it to the other finished objects. So let's move on. I started my Colette Pullover by Sari Norland a couple videos ago, so we've seen her, but she's done. She's been done. I've been wearing this on repeat because hello, oh, the color is just, it's it. This is the it sweater of the season. So this is a pattern by Sari Norland. If you're on Instagram, you've probably seen somebody knit it. It's kind of made its rounds. I think she released it last year. So it's got these vertical stripes of cables and then horizontal stripes. So the cables are kind of split up by little eyelet rows. It's such a fun knit. It's not daunting if you haven't knit cables before, because all the cables are a 6-stitch crossover. So like 3 stitches over 3. They all go one way. And the chart repeats like this little section is a chart repeat. So it's not as daunting as it seems. So we've got a nice folded collar. This is, please hold, I wrote it down, Kelbourne Woolens Scout, which is a new favorite of mine. I really like it. It feels like a good wool. Okay, I think I might need to block this again though, because I've been wearing it and the sleeves are kind of like pulling in a little bit more, just because it's kind of like the cables kind of act like ribbing. It really shrinks up. But I've been loving Kelbourne Woolens Scout. It's got a really good feel. Like it feels woolly and it's warm, but it's not scratchy. And it's like a medium weight, I'd say. Like this would keep you warm, but you're not gonna like be dripping in sweat. But I think this is great. The like warm brown is it, dude. I love this color. So I don't have too much to say about this. I knit it to pattern. I think mine's a little bit more cropped, but she has like a cropped and a long version. I might need to add a little bit more length to my sleeves because I was playing yarn chicken. I did Italian bind off. I found a video. I'll see if I can find it to link it, but it's kind of a hack on Italian bind off because I dislike it just because it takes so long. It looks great. It stretches so well, but it just takes forever. So it's probably not that new to some of you, but you put your needle in the stitch that you're going to drop off, and then at the same time you thread it through, like not the next but the 3rd stitch on your needle, like that you would pull it through next, kind of in one motion instead of in 2. Oh my gosh, my cats are like going at it. Fight club. Anyway, they're fine. But then you can run it through 2 at the same time, and then it kind of speeds up, like halves the amount of time that it takes. So that has really changed the Italian bind off game for me, and I've been much more willing to do it on my sweaters, and my hems are very thankful for that. Like that looks so nice, and the way the cables like kind of continue and then it shapes into that, beautiful. I love this sweater. I've been wearing it a lot. Pattern is great, easy to follow. It's a, I think this is called a European shoulder, where you kind of start with a trapezoid and you work your way down and then you pick up. So this was great, so fun to knit. I kind of whipped through this because I wanted to wear it for fall. So love that, so excited about that. Another fall piece, I'm trying to like keep things moving here. This is the Siri Cardigan by Les Knit. I cast this off a little while ago, but I never added buttons. But this is a kind of chunkier cable moss stitch guy, cable down the sleeve, round neck cardigan, which isn't typically what I reach for, but I wanted one that you could button up and wear like a pullover, and I really like this pattern. So this is Knitting for Olive heavy merino, and then it's held with a mohair by the brand Uma. Sorry, I'm like picking hairs off of everything. It's a mohair by the brand Uma. I'll see if I can find the information for it. It looks so good, and it's so light with those two yarns together. I am so excited about this one. I need to put some buttons on, so let me know what color buttons you think I should do with this, because I wanted to do like one that was just the color of the yarn, but then I was thinking maybe like a brown would look good, because I really like how these look together, and I feel like an accent button would look cool, but I don't know if it would take away from the cables. So let me know what you think, because I'm kind of torn, and then that's why I haven't added buttons, and now I haven't worn it at all. But I loved this pattern. So I will say that Les Knit doesn't have the most size options, but this is pretty, it's got quite a bit of positive ease. So I think it would be pretty easy to just, it's a raglan. You could just add a few more raglan increase rounds if you wanted to make a bigger size than what's listed in the pattern. But I think this looks great. Okay, so we're moving on to whips, and I have cracked into my winter colorwork phase. And the first victim is the Halibut sweater. Everyone's making this, I know. Okay, the color work looks so good on camera. Are you kidding? That looks so good. Okay, so we have yoke, round yoke, color work. The body's done. The whole yoke is just this fish motif repeating, and it looks so amazing. Like, are you kidding? Okay, so I've committed some crimes on this sweater. First and foremost, my fiber choice is things I had in stash. This sweater's a gift, so if you know me, you never saw this. I've had this Lion brand, feels like butta, not how I'm saying it, that's how it's spelled. I've had this in my stash forever, and it's 100% acrylic, it's polyester. And I've never known what to do with it, because I typically don't knit with synthetic fibers. Not to be a yarn snob, I don't really care. I like wool. I like the sustainability of it. I like the feel of it. I like the fact that it's sweat wicking and you don't have to wash it as often, and if you do, it's easier upkeep with wool. Okay, so we love wool. Natural fibers are usually what I reach for, but this feels really nice. And so I was thinking that it could be a good gift yarn, because it feels really good against your skin. And the thing where I go wrong with knitting wool as gifts, besides one time I gave somebody a sweater and they felted it, that's on me. I did give them washing instructions, but now I'm scared. I have trust issues. But I don't know how other people's skin sensitivity levels is, right? So I don't want to knit somebody a beautiful colorwork sweater that they feel like they can't wear because it's itchy. So I really liked the color of this. I think it's a really nice like neutral gray. And I had one skein of the green, it's also Kelbourne Woolens Scout. That's it. I was like, when I was talking about the brown Kelbourne Woolens, I was like, I know I have something else that's with it. So here's my first, I don't want to say mistake, I chose this. So I'm holding an acrylic yarn with 100% wool. So I'm gonna have to be really careful when I block this, because I don't want things to bleed and all that. But they're basically the same texture. And if anything, the Kelbourne Woolens is a little bit thicker. Okay, so I'm a mixed fibers bitch, right? I like to use what I have in stash. And so I've done color work with different kinds of yarns and different fibers before. And I know that if I use a thinner yarn for the color work portion, it looks weird. Same with, honestly, it can go wrong both ways, because if you have to get to float and your base color is too thin, you can see your floats through like the gaps. But the nice thing about this yarn is that it's so grippy. I don't know what it is. It kind of feels like a blown yarn, or like maybe it's chainette, but whatever is going on there, it makes me knit a lot tighter than I ever do. Like I'm a loose knitter at heart. So I did a swatch because I'm responsible. That's the one thing that I did right here. And I liked the way that the green popped and it could kind of hold its own against the base color. So I was like, you know what, we'll just go for it. You can kind of see where my increases are, but you can't see gaps in the color work. And I love that. Should I give you a peek at my floats? I don't want to be judged online for having messy floats, because I probably do, but I think it really worked out well. You can't see through that to the back. So this is a pattern that's really blowing up. It's by Boyland Knitworks. It's been having a moment for a couple of years, honestly. It's by Boyland Knitworks. She has designed, I think her name is Caitlin Hunter. She's designed quite a few like color work yokes, round yokes, and all of them are stunning. Like I want to knit more of her patterns. And this pattern is honestly, this would be a great like first color work piece, because all the color work's in the round. You do short row increases before you start the color work. So you just have to do like normal round yoke increases through the fish. And then each of these repeat. So you really only have to learn like one little section of color work. And the fish look so fun when they're completed. So I love this. I have seen that people say this collar stretches a little bit too much, so I might go back and add some length to this and then see if I can do like some kind of folded collar so it kind of won't pull out and sag as much, if that makes sense. So that's the only thing I might add to this. We're into one sleeve. I'm also doing the sleeves quite a bit wider than what the pattern has. I think the pattern has like pretty tight sleeves, but I honestly just looked at the number to pick up and then kind of went off on my own. So that's just because the person that I'm making it for, I think, is gonna want a wider sleeve. But I'm having a blast with this. It's so fun to knit. The color work is so addicting because you can see the fish like growing as you're knitting it, and it's so fun. So I've loved this. It's been so fun. I kind of want to do a separate video on like my color work recommendations for like color work for beginners, or color work for people who want to learn a new technique, or people who want to try Fair Isle or Intarsia or something, or like round yoke color work, raglan color work, because I feel like I've knit quite a variety. So let me know if you want that. But I love how this is turning out. I'm so excited. Okay, so we gotta be quick because my camera battery's about to die. But the last thing I wanted to talk about is a test knit by the creabea, and it's the Staffin sweater. So it's an all over texture raglan. This is the recommended yarn. It's Rauma fivel. It is so nice. It's a light, really light Norwegian wool, and it's a little bit pricey, but I've never worked with it before, and so I kind of wanted to test it out. We've got some ribbing chunks. I'm trying to figure out, I think this is the front actually. So we've got some 2x2 rib, some color work, or sorry, some textured bands here, intermixed. These are Estonian buttons or something. They're like tiny baubles, but this looks amazing. Like the color work from back here, obviously it hasn't been blocked, okay? So she's really gonna stretch, but I am obsessed with this. As soon as she put out a picture of it, I was like, I must test knit that. And so I've tested for Rebecca before, and her patterns are so interesting. Like she's such a cool designer. She's always like trying something new, trying a new construction, trying a new texture, trying a new color work technique. So I feel like when I test it for her, I always learn. I learn new techniques, I learn new ideas, and I get so much inspiration. So I was really excited to be selected for this test knit. And then I waffled around about a color for so long, and then I went with this green. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like bright color was the way to go. I thought about doing like a navy blue, but I don't know. I feel like this much texture is already gonna draw attention to itself. So I was like, you know what? I want some green, let's do it. And I don't have any regrets. I think it looks amazing. I'm almost to the bottom ribbing here, and then I just gotta throw in a couple sleeves. I went back and did the collar because I feel like when sweaters don't have collars, they look bald, and then I like don't know how the yoke is gonna look. Or did we start with the collar? Maybe we started with the collar. I don't know. Anyway, I just have sleeves and ribbing left to go. And I'm so excited. Okay, thank you for sticking with me. I actually have more whips that we're not going to talk about today because I'm overwhelmed and I know about all these. So we'll come back with another video much sooner than the next time. Hopefully I won't start and finish multiple sweaters by the time we next meet up. But thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, things you want to discuss down below. Check out those new patterns. Follow me on Instagram. You know, give this a like, the whole shebang, because you guys are the best. And I love making these. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.